Hello, I am here today with Mckie, who is a painter and model, and I'm happy to also say a friend of mine, many other things as well, including a mother and an actress. And today we're having a conversation as part of my series called In Her Image, which is a conversation series with Gazzelli Art House, part of my residency there, with women who make the world in their own image in some way. So I'm talking to a lot of artists, I'm talking to a lot of technologists, but really the main thread is these are women I admire who have interesting stories, and I'm so excited that Emma is able to join me today. We're actually neighbors, but because of quarantine conditions and recording, we just thought, well, why not Zoom from across the building downtown?
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to have a conversation with someone that is a friend and also someone I admire and creates amazing work and has such an interesting perspective. So thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I'm really excited. One of the things that I've been finding as I've been doing these is that I'm doing them with a lot of people I don't know, but also those that I'm doing with my friends. I'm learning so much, so I'm excited to get to know you more and also share that with a new community of people.
Likewise. I love how this whole quarantine situation is bringing up so much more new knowledge, and like you said, things about the people we do know that for some reason we haven't asked yet.
So anyway, Emma, I'd love for you to start by just sharing a little bit about what you do and maybe telling your story. I know you grew up around the same area of the country I did and had a pretty unique upbringing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that and what it is that you do.
So to start with, we're both sort of from New Hampshire. I spent high school and middle school there and have big ties to that part of the world. I was also homeschooled. You were homeschooled, correct?
No.
Chris was. Sorry. I was homeschooled for the most part, and so I spent a lot of time working in galleries and working on my art. Even, I guess I had my first show at 16. So I was lucky enough to have parents that could cater to my strange creative lifestyle. And so that's where I began. And then I moved out to Los Angeles, I think 5 years ago now. And, oh no, wait, almost 6. I calculate things based on how old my daughter is. She's going to be 5 in June. And we moved out, and 2 days after we moved out here, I found out I was pregnant. So that's my timeline. So yeah, I started out in the art world very, very early on, and it's just been a continuation. It's been building up to where I'm at now, which is finally at a place where I am not only giving into it, but I feel like it's giving back, as in I'm like very excited about what I'm doing and having a lot of fun with it and not spending so much time in that weird spot that young artists do where you're not sure about yourself yet for a long time and you're just sort of working out the kinks. So not that I'm not working out kinks, because there's always kinks, but and so now what I'm doing and what I've been working on since then, since my first show, is abstract art in many different medias. I had been painting for a really long time and still do, and now I'm branching out into other mediums. I'm working with 3D sculptures for the first time this year, and they're in concrete and lucite and wood and a variety of other things. And then I'm working on tapestries also, and I'm very influenced by, just for reference for people, by the Bauhaus movement, by the Russian avant-garde movement, and now I'm delving headfirst into like very bright, colorful things. So now I'm very into the Memphis design world. So that's a quick little recap on me.
The work that I've seen of yours recently, it's interesting to hear you like mentioned the I didn't even know what materials that those were made of. That's very, very interesting. And we'll get like some images of things as part of this so people can see. But they, to me, very much felt like they had come off of your canvas and manifested themselves in 3D.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. But you're right, the colors are just exceptionally vivid, and it's interesting to see that you also are drawn to these really bright, vibrant colors right now, because that's something that wasn't a huge part of my last 5 years. But I don't know if it's a certain hitting of the stride or part of the quarantine thing where I just want to create as much like vividness as possible.
Yeah. I keep coming back to the fact that the bright colors are just, again, keeping me super happy. And again, I also have a 4-year-old, so I'm around bright colors all the time, just through life. And I've, for the first time, I think, I don't know, I guess in the past year or two, really got into the bright color. I love them. And I really like the ugly colors. Like, that's my thing. It's like these horrible, hideous, bright things that all go together, and like they work out in the end, but you see them by themselves and you're like, oh, that's rough. It's fun.
Like that yellow green, like that color that's between yellow and green and like neon, looks a little bit like radioactive.
Yes, exactly.
I've seen that one in your work. You just mentioned that you have a daughter. Ona is quite the the artist as well. How is your feelings of creating in art or sculpture? Has being a mother changed how you feel about like creation abstractly, or has it just been a different phase in the process?
I think it's changed it a bit, and it's also been another phase, and she really makes me look at what I'm doing, because she'll critique it, because I create a lot at our house as well as at my studio, and so she's around it all the time, and she's also got her own table next to mine doing her own thing, and she'll come over and give me tips, and so or she'll stand there with her hands on her hips and go, yeah, not bad, Mom. So I'm getting a lot of that, and it's interesting seeing things from, and I know this is really simple, but from different angles. You spend a lot of time on the floor, so you spend a lot of time like knowing what your work looks like from an upward angle and that sort of thing. And then also the durability of pieces has become really important, because I need to have things in my house that will withstand human interaction. And it's been fun. It's been interesting. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, that's great. It's just hearing about your experience of it, which is another thing I want to talk about, is your experience being an artist, but also, I don't know if these are words that you guys use, but definitely being Bill's muse as well, and doing a lot of photography and being the subject of a lot of photography. We are also neighbors and friends with Penny Slinger, who I'll be speaking to later in this series as well. And she's someone who very much, her work really started out with, the self-muse relationship, and it's something the three of us talk about. How is it to be such a strong muse, and then to be having your own creative practice, which is in no way related to your partners? Or I mean, in no way physically related to your partners.
Yeah, because they're so separate, but they're also, again, like you said, they affect one another. I think the thing that I would say first and foremost is that it's taken away any inhibitions. Like, I'm not, because I always have an audience and because I am always a subject at the same time, you get rid of all these nerves and all this wondering about things, and you just start moving through life as both artist and subject. And so you see the full circle. Actually, how we met is, we met at a poetry reading, and at that moment I was doing a lot of portraits. And so I was looking for someone to collaborate with who would photograph people so that I could then paint them, because I am not a photographer by any means. Though that's changing a little bit because I'm photographing my work. and I needed someone
You
who.
also hear that the work that you're photographing, and I said again, we'll get images in. It's the way in which you photograph it is seems to be hugely important to it, because of there's lighting and these objects almost seem to glow from the inside. So I would even, without having known the materials of what you're working on, could have seen the photograph itself being the work. So yeah, I'm sure you're having to get quite into, when I say like, oh, I also have to photograph my work, I'm talking like a tripod with as much natural light as possible. You're doing a photography process on these works.
Yeah, it's silly to think this, but I can't seem to figure out the natural light tripod situation. It doesn't seem to work for me. So I've adapted to my own issues and have started playing with lights and these things called digital Sputniks, which are lights that change colors specifically for photography. And I really like it because they bring even more color, like we were talking about, into my work. And I've also started and have been working on this series for a while, but like restarted working on a series which I call airplane hours, because when I'm stuck and I can't do anything aside from work with what I have, I end up creating compositions with whatever's around, whether that, and it started on an airplane with like the little cups and the little straws and some salt, and I was creating it, and because I had Bill with me, of course, at camera. So that whole thing started, and now I'm at home stuck in quarantine, and so I'm working with really simple things like pieces of paper composed and lit and photographed, which I don't know, it can't even compare, but it makes me feel a little closer to this artist that I love so much, Barbara Kasten. And so it's just all these bits. I don't know if you feel like this, but I can't escape my art. It's just a constant, like every little thing is like a part of it.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm in a particularly good place with it, like the work I'm doing right now, like when we first started talking about art, first started to become friends, I was very much in my like, I am a pure painter posturing still, and have come out of that quite aggressively. And and so now, because and I'm feeling one of the reasons why I love making the work I'm making right now is because of how natural the collecting of things and going to the craft district. And I'm on the airplane with fingernail scissors cutting out the Sky Mall magazine, because there are like watches and jewelry and all
so good
things that I don't think it's called Sky Mall anymore, but you know what I mean. I'm like cutting up.
I wish it was.
They should. Oh my gosh, I was just going to say they should have Sky Mall for quarantine, but that's just called catalog shopping.
True. Oh my gosh, can you do one of your newspapers as like your version of Sky Mall? I would love that.
Exactly. And in this story, you're talking about like the poetry reading, and you started doing these, started working with Bill because you're looking for someone to photograph for the portraits that you were painting. And then did I hear you say once that you didn't start modeling until after you had your child?
Yeah, I started modeling when she was 2 months old. Yeah. Runway modeling. Yeah, I don't know how my body did that. 2 months after I had her, I was the same size as I was before. But I don't know how I end up like that, but I'm gonna take the luck and just roll with it.
I'm really interested in, just because I mean, I've also seen a lot of your modeling work and seen you as like as that subject and object within those, and I was really just amazed to hear that this wasn't something that you were doing. I guess it's not a normal career trajectory for someone to have a child and then decide to go into modeling.
No, not at all. I had toyed with the idea before. I hadn't really pursued it. Got pregnant. I was living out here. I took the time off while I was pregnant and just worked on art and wasn't working. And then afterwards, I was at a fashion party with with Bill and some friends, and a designer came up to me and asked if I wanted to walk in their show the next night. It was a very Hollywood story. And I said, I'm not a model. Meanwhile, holding the baby, wearing heels in like a cocktail dress. Yeah. Because, and I feel like that's something to point out, that I believe really firmly in, is that people with children, well, of course we all make our own choices, but for me, I've just continued on with my life. I just have like a new friend with me, you know. She's very small, but she's a part of all of it. Like, you know this, she's always around, just doing whatever we do. And so yeah, like the fashion parties, the modeling, fashion week, she's come to fashion week with me a couple times, like around the world. We're gone for months. And I think that's something people worry about with art, is that after they have children, they won't have time. And I feel like it's given me more time, because I'm able to focus on that. Because the great thing about having a kid is all of a sudden you have all this time for play, which then turns into, oh, I have all this time to paint and create because it's play, because she's doing it too, and she's got her coloring book and I've got my canvas, and yeah, it's fun.
When you were saying that, I was literally just going to mention the word play, because there's something very playful about you as a personality, and like the way you move through the world. And I do see the way.
Likewise.
But it you know, resonates in your work as well. But it doesn't have that like burden of like too self-serious, if that makes sense. Like, you quite research, you do, like, you use these crazy materials, but at the same time it does feel that joyfulness in it, especially with the new colors. Can you tell me a little bit about the tapestry behind you?
So it's a long going process that I have been working on for a while, and I take a lot of time off from it because I have arthritis, and so there's some things that take me longer because of physical abilities. But I've been working on this tapestry series that I got inspired to do when I was at Naropa, which is a Buddhist college that my husband went to. And they have all of these Buddhist, to them, I don't know what they're called, tapestries that have these like wonderful circles on them in silk. I just love them so much. And so of course I came home and started making some for myself, because again, I feel like as artists, we just want the stuff around us that keeps us going. And so, yeah, they're part of a tapestry series. And this one is, oh God, I don't know, it's longer than the wall. And like our walls here and our ceilings are like, they're like 17 feet tall. So it's like, this thing is like 20 feet tall. It's very big. And this is only the beginning stages of it, but I like working with all different kinds of media. It's great. It's fun. I don't like to be boxed in by anything.
I know we're very boxed in this space. And then I guess as a final question, we're so lucky to live in this building that we live in. It has its you know, strangeness because of the community that's here. But you and Bill have been here for how long?
4 years.
4 years. A lot of us are much newer than that.
I feel like I just got here. Like, this has all gone by really fast.
Well, I guess it has. If you just say a few words about your feelings towards artistic community, like, you know, such as myself and Penny and the other people that were really fortunate to get to spend time around here, especially because in quarantine, to have that is really unique, I think.
You know, I feel very lucky, and I also feel guilty because, I mean, so many artists we know are dealing with this in such a different way without a community because of normal living situations that we don't have for whatever reason. I don't know what I would do without this community. I don't know, it feeds me. I love it. And it's always shocking. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is still going on. We still have this community. It's like, it's amazing. I keep waiting for like the bubble to pop.
you do, you often post a lot about a lot of social issues that are really important to you. And I've seen you use your work in different fundraisings or charities. Do you want to talk a little bit about the way you use your creating to stay connected to things that that are activists or really important to you?
Yeah, because I have modeling, I have an income that is separate from my art. And so the past while I've been doing these just online auctions for charities that are very current and very like very dear to my heart, because it's a way for me to connect with other people and talk about issues and situations that are happening, and also to raise money. And I love that we can combine all of those things together. It's amazing. I figured this out when, I mean, it's not like it's a secret, but I started doing work like this as a teenager, and I had this Art for Activism group with a bunch of artists, and we would do big group shows that we would take around, focusing on things that were happening, like the oil spill and wars and situations like that. And I like to continue doing it. I'm actually about to do another one. It's important because we're all human, and we're, regardless of if we're affected personally by this stuff, we all feel it. And I sometimes can't always donate myself. And so I open it up to the world and I say, hey, like, I'll give you something that I've put my time and effort in if you'll help me out with this thing that we can all like deeply feel and care about. And it definitely, having that mindset, and yes, I post a lot about social and political issues, and I feel things very deeply, and so I go on these long rants online. And lately I've been more internalizing and focusing on, of course, my art, because we're stuck inside. And like my last piece is the last piece that I posted was the sculpture I just did called Citizen Admitted. And the idea is that I'm acknowledging my privilege as an American artist, and especially a white American artist, in that I am very, very lucky to be able to do whatever I want to do with my art without getting a backlash, because, you know, I've been accepted because we live here, and I happen to have been born here. And that piece, I don't know why, but while I was making it, I was realizing all this, like, oh God, like, I have a lot of privilege in this, you know, just by existing as myself, and especially as an artist, because I get to do what I do. So
with these, you're mentioning like because you have modeling, you have this ability to be more generous in this way, and you also have a community and a following that comes to you from that. Have you had any challenges sort of asserting yourself as an artist or being seen as an artist because of the modeling career being so like high end and very successful?
Yeah, it gets a little weird because people focus on the modeling thing, of course, because it's raised to such a heightened place in society, and due to the people that I work with and deal with, interact with. Yeah, it gets really interesting, and you often get dismissed, especially being the model, because the model is a tool for the designers and the photographers. And I mean, I do it because I love design and photography, but you are there giving yourself up to their creative choices. And due to that, being an artist in their eyes gets put a little bit on the back burner, which I understand, and I often keep the things separate. Though the modeling has brought me so many connections within the art world. Like, Yeah, so many examples I could give, but the thing that I do come across a lot, and I feel like this is just something that you come across a lot being an artist in general, is people, especially people who are not in the art world, you tell them what you do and they go, oh my God, I love doing crafts too. And, and it's so innocent and so sweet, and it's just missing the point completely. And that's kind of how I feel being an artist and a model in the modeling world. You know, the modeling world for me, I'm so grateful for what I've been able to do. But it's, at this point, it's my day job. You know, it pays the bills, it runs itself, and I don't think about it too much, except for loving the fact that I'm around all these cool photographers, which I consider to be an art form also.
Interesting. It's true. I know what you mean. Like sometimes, like, yeah, the context is really important because artist is like this word that doesn't easily reflect the depth of a practice or, you know, any of that. And especially when you're successful somewhere else, or you're, in my case, with a successful partner in a different world, sometimes, you know, I get the, oh, that's cute.
Aww.
Aww.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
Woo.
yeah, exactly. To hear you talk about that experience as well. Well, Emma, thank you so much for taking the time to share about you and your work and your story, and really excited to share this with the Gazzelli Art House community, and see you like on the porch sometime soon.
Yes.